It's kind of like you got to get it to roll a little bit. And then every once in a while, you might be a little foolish.
Yeah.
Maui's not spelled with a we, it's spelled with an I.
No, are you kidding?
Good job, me. And she's back.
You guys killed it. You didn't play Moana, you were Moana.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
You weren't bad either.
I'm not bad. I'm okay as Maui.
I'm going to kick things off. I didn't expect you to dance as much as you did in this film.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you. There was a little shoulder shimmy, so I thought maybe you could kick it off by showing Catherine and I a little demonstration of how you did that.
Oh, it's hard because it's so good what I do.
It's really hard to like replicate greatness.
It's kind of like you got to get it to roll a little bit. And then every once in a while, you might be a little foolish.
How do you do out of 10?
Oh, I'd say like 10.
10?
A 10.
Killed
a
it,
9,
right?
but a 10.
A 9, yeah.
I think the scene that I was so excited to see brought to live action was the whole sequence where you meet, you're slinging it at each other, you don't necessarily like each other, then it goes into your welcome, and you exceeded my expectations. I also love that you were on the ground, you were throwing yourselves around, you were getting doused with water. Could you sort of break down the first time you stepped on set together to do that scene and just what you remember from it?
I think we'd known each other for a bit before we shot kind of that first scene where we meet. But I feel like that one was the one I was most nervous about because I, unlike Dwayne, don't have a long history in stunts. So when they were like, you're going to stomp this near Dwayne's foot and then you're going to grab near Dwayne's ear, I was like, well, what if I don't? And what if it hits? Like, what if there's some kind of point of connection there? And I feel like that was something I was super, super nervous about. Not that I think any kind of strength would hurt anything on you, but I could give it a red hot go. But I feel like that was something I was nervous about because you just want to capture that kind of experience Moana has of seeing someone she's heard so much about and kind of she's finally one of the dots is connecting on this journey and she's like, okay, now this is kind of my next step, my next hurdle I have to jump.
I also think, Nikki, with this, it's such a beloved film, animated film, that we knew if we set up the village properly and respectfully, showcasing culture and the details and the specificity. And of course, she's going to knock this song out of the park and make it her own, and how challenging that is. Then it kicks into another gear when she finally goes to Maui's island. Now we know, okay, we got to bring our AAA game here and it's the song that then takes the movie and then you go on the journey. Here we go. So with You're Welcome, we were keenly aware of we had to do it right. I got to dance. I got to sing. Thank God I had an amazing partner. And here we go.
Absolute comedy gold. There were certain one-liners from the original. I'm just going to point out a couple. It's Maui time. It's true, I have beautiful hair, which seeing it come to its physical fruition was incredible. And of course, the old-time classic, blow dart to my butt cheeks. Can you break down sort of you're not in the sound booth anymore and also your physicality? Also, there was one there wasn't a line and you were just kissing. Like you fully embraced the comedy in this.
Yeah.
Can you talk about knowing that those lines are coming on that day and how many times you did them and sort of how you got it right?
Oh, it's so important because again, it's beloved. And so when something is beloved, people are automatically and understandably so, it's how we all are, protective of it.
Yeah.
And we'll watch it with a very watchful eagle eye. So I knew there's these comedy lines, blow dart to my butt cheek. It's Maui time. And then some other stuff that we're going to throw in there too as well. In animation, obviously your voice has to come alive and there has to be a pulse in your voice to just make it appealing to people when they hear it. Plus that informs the animation, but live action, ultimately Maui is a lot of things, but fun is what he is, and it's what people expect. So to your point, I embraced it, Nikki. I dove in right into the fire.
You literally dove in
yes,
one
I
scene.
dove in.
So what was the favorite line? Is there a favorite line?
Yes, there is, as a matter of fact. There's a line that I added that's not in the original, that where we're in Tamato's cave, and I'm trying to convince her, like, you're not doing it right. Do it better. Sound better, more attractive, more powerful. And then I finally look at it and I go, yeah, it all sucks.
Yes, I wrote that one down too. I was like, was that in the original? I don't remember.
All sucks.
2 questions for you. What is the most Dwayne Johnson thing you saw Dwayne Johnson do
Ooh.
on set? I'll start with that.
Okay, what's the most Dwayne Johnson thing I've ever seen Dwayne Johnson do? Maybe it's the sunglasses. I feel like they made an appearance even with Maui, even in a soundstage. where it's like they're still on, and I was like, at this point, just leave them. I feel like they're if Dwayne has them, then Maui probably does too.
Maui has them. But
feel
by
like
the way,
that's
for context, these are prescription glasses. Now I can't see anything. So they were prescription on set.
I thought you would just like,
No,
it was like sunny outside. I was like, fair enough.
I'm not the asshole who wears glasses inside.
I thought it was like a look thing.
No, they're scripts.
I just thought they were really cute.
And so that's how, by the way, that's every time we would read our lines, I would say, give me my glasses, and I put them on. Now, they happen to have, some tint to them, so it makes me look like, oh, look at this guy.
We're talking about the fun moments, but there's a moment where you have a deep guttural sound that comes out of you that I know came from your ancestors, came from your grandfather. And then the moment you say, I am Moana. What's the most Moana you felt on set? And talk about sort of bringing not just the levity, but the depth.
I think that moment is probably the moment I felt most like Moana, getting to stand on that canoe with Rena Owens, who plays our grandmother. It was just, even though we were in a sound stage and it wasn't the realest situation to be in, that's when it felt the most alive. They had kind of big screens coming up that were like lighting blue to be our ancestor canoes. And I think getting to sing that song, she goes through so many emotions. And something that Tommy often said to us is when the feeling is too big for the words, that's when you sing. When the feelings that you're having and you're trying to express that don't fit into a simple sentence, that's when these songs come out. And I think that's kind of the perfect explanation of why we sing I am Moana, because she's finally come to that realization of I don't have to change or be something else. I can be who I've always been.
Nikki, I have to tell you that I love the moment that she's describing, and I love how personal it is to her. When I finally saw the film, and I saw this film, the film that she hasn't seen it yet. She's going to see it at the premiere.
Yeah.
She's going to wait till the premiere. So the film that you and I saw it last week, and I was so moved by this one moment, and I was so emotional. Maui is ready to sacrifice himself to Taka. And Moana says, let her come to me. And she starts to walk as the ocean parts. And then she finally gets face to face, nose to nose. And as she's saying, do you know who you are? Because that's the thing that we all want, I feel like, is to really understand, like, who am I and who am I to the world? And we continue to search for that, So anyway, I was so moved by that moment. Just let her come to me. Because in that moment, she is Moana. And in that moment, I think she reflects where we all want to be one day, just that confident in whether it's let her come to me or let my insecurities come to me or let my fears come to me, and I'll meet them halfway.
You have none, of course. You have none. By the way, so proud of you. You both got so doused in this film. I can't imagine how you ever got dry
especially
again.
her. It was crazy.
Oh
my God.
That was some fun.
Moana, the ocean chose you. Find Maui. Restore the heart of Te Fiti.
Little shout out to camera. This man has been in Sex in the City with Lynn. Look for him, first movie. Claim to fame. I said this to you before we started rolling. 10 out of 10, no notes. Absolutely in love with this film. We love to sort of break down, get it like an idea of the challenges, sort of how you film scenes. And I couldn't decide between the You're Welcome scene because it's so iconic, but Shiny looked logistically tough. So I'm going to do dealer's choice and you tell me which scene you want to break down and sort of just give me the logistics and what it was like on the day or on the several days.
Let's do Shiny.
Let's do Shiny.
Yeah, let's do Shiny. The big shout out here is Bill Westenhofer, our VFX soup, who was really my partner in every way.
Yeah.
When you're making a movie, there's a few people that are there from the very beginning to the very end. Bill was right there with me. And as I'd mentioned to you, in our crawl at the end of this movie, 2,944 people, human beings, worked on this movie.
Wow.
And that's a responsibility. And look, in a business where, things are contracting, the fact that many people had work, is a real, and it really means something. And that number, Shiny, is a testament to so many artists all over the world who came together for that one. So how do you eat a giant crab? One bite at a time. And so it's really piecemeal. So we built a claw. We put Catherine in that claw, and that claw was on a gimbal. And so you shoot all of the claw, and then she gets transferred to the other claw. So then there's the other claw. And then, when she's a lot of the running, it's, and this is happening, and this is happening, so you're calling that out to her. You're on this kind of big open, sort of space that John Meyer, our production designer, did. And so much of that number, we would build the elements we needed to sort of fill it in. But that was when we really had to map out ahead of time. And because it's a song, you know exactly what the duration is, right? And you're not cutting a lyric from Shiny. You're not making, like, so that's the story you need to tell. And then, we had Dwayne getting just tossed and like battered during it too. So I think his professional wrestling days really help you there, because you can throw anything at him and he's like, that's all you got. So there's a lot of that. You kind of break it down.
Interesting. Talk a little bit more about that, because I noticed, and we've seen him do physical comedy. We've seen him do comedy. I've never seen him sort of get thrown around so much. There's a scene where he gets thrown on the ground and you just douse him with water.
Yeah.
She gets doused with water a lot. So can you talk a little bit more about him specifically first? What kind of conversations you had together about how he wanted to portray this larger than life character, and just what you put him through?
Well, I will say that the moment that you just singled out when he gets doused with water, Dwayne was like, that's not enough water. Like, I need more water. I mean, this is someone we couldn't turn the hose on fast enough or high enough for him. He actually was like, it's funnier if it's more. And I was like, he said it, I didn't. So that's also a testament to Dwayne, because that's exactly who he is. Like, what's good for the movie, what's good for the movie, what's good for the movie.
Yeah.
And then, what we talked about early on, and I think Maui was really inspired by his grandpa, the high chief. And so from our first conversation, we first spoke in March of 2023, and Dwayne talked about the opportunity to celebrate his culture and for us to put it on screen everywhere we could, and know that because Disney's making this movie, that was going to travel the world. So we saw that as an opportunity, because, celluloid lasts. Where I come from, theater, it goes away eventually. Every show closes. And so this was a chance to do something lasting for the culture. So that was at the forefront of everything that we thought about doing. And the spirit that you're talking about, whether it was that shiny, Dwayne, again, from Ragdoll, like, when you're in a wrestling match and the outcome might be determined in some way, but you got to get knocked down before you get up. Otherwise, who cares if you get up? So Dwayne understands that on a really primordial level
of getting knocked down.
And so it's like, he's like, knock him out, knock him out, knock him out, knock him. So then when he gets up, but it's Moana who has to save him in that number, you also then understand going forward that character's humiliation. Oh, I'm not who I thought I was. I thought if I could just get my hook back, everything would be fine. And then when he doesn't have his power, it gets to the central question of our film, which is, who are you? Who are you really? And that's something that Maui has to reckon with, as well as Moana.
Yeah. So Catherine, watching her, I thought to myself, what was the moment? Because I've watched actors' audition tapes before. I've been lucky enough to see them. And you usually see it in the first 10 seconds. What was that moment for you? Was it her first audition tape you saw? Was it the last audition? What was the moment where you were like, because you must have seen so many people.
Well, look, you know what it's like to walk into a room and self-tape? All of those things, how bold and brave you have to be to do that. Catherine was 16 years old when she first submitted a tape. We saw thousands of incredibly talented folks put their tape forward. But you're exactly right. Like, in 10 seconds, I just had this thing in time. He's like, that's her. And I then said, and she was in Australia at the time. And I said, I'd like to do a Zoom with her. And she was sitting there, in one of the rooms where she lives, she's like, hi, I'm Katie. We started talking and we did the scene. And then as in between the scenes, I was like, oh, that's okay. So not only can she do that, but I started to see something else in her. And hey, can you take a little of that? And she was so playful and willing to try. And at that point, I had a very, very strong feeling about it. We were coming to Hawaii to prep, and the strike happened. And so we had to postpone everything. So I met Katie just before she turned 17. She came to New York. And at that point, this was about proving a theory. Like I was, and by the way, as were all of my collaborators. And she walked in that room and it was over. That was it. And I always said, there's no Moana movie without Moana. So we can talk about it, but it's all theory until we meet her. And then we met her. And it was so immediate. You're right. It's very visceral.
Imagine her sitting on that plane from Sydney to New York, waiting for that audition. We have to talk about Lynn.
Let's do it.
Reunited.
We did it. We finally did it.
What is your collaboration with him? And how is it is it a happy accident you're both on this movie? Or who brought who in?
Well, there are no happy accidents in show business. You know that better than anybody.
Yeah.
Lynn and I met in May of 2002. And the way that I describe it is we had a conversation that's never stopped. And I genuinely mean this. We've talked twice today and it's not even lunchtime. Like, we're in each other's life in a profound way. And so my relationship to him as a collaborator has been the basis of our friendship, but then we became like brothers, through the work. So I've been talking to Lynn about writing songs and making songs since I met him. That's how we met, working on In the Heights in those early days. And so with this, when I said that I was, up for the job and he was, advocating for me, it was a chance for us to come together because Lynn was writing Moana when we were doing Hamilton. he used to be up in his dressing room. And I said, I know our show is done. So will you please tell him to come down and work on our show? Because he's also an actor in our show. And then he would grab Pippa and Chris Jackson and do demos for, for Moana. And then, so Moana comes out, it becomes Moana. And I was the first person to buy a ticket. I mean, if I do something without Lin, he's my biggest, fan. Like that's very true. And it's proven on this one. And there was a moment we were sitting on set and Katie was singing and I was sitting next to him and they had 2 chairs set up for us. And here we were 22 years later, still doing the same thing. And, we watched the movie many times together in preparation to think, is there another song? Is there a place? And it just felt like it was so right. So we started to look at the end credits. And in that conversation, we said, all right, so what could that be? Because we didn't want to just do it to do it. And I called Lin one day and I said, Lin, I've been thinking, we don't have a Maui and Moana duet in our film. And there's not really a place in the body of the film. But the other thing we don't have is both of Moanas. Because we're in the end credits, could we have a conversation with the 3 that can almost live within our film's sort of theme, but also reach towards the other universe of Moana that exists with animated? And I just, and I've been doing this with Lin for so long. I lob lots of ideas his way and he goes, But when it goes in, he just sits up and I was like, oh, he's got it. And he said to me, I understand. I'll call you back. And he called me back a couple hours later and he's like, I've got an idea. Give me some time. And then this is the song that came out along the way. This conversation between our Moanas with Maui that's about who came before. I mean, he did it again. And it's really hard for me to admit that. It's very hard to admit that he's good at his job. But he did it again.
Do people tell you that you talk the same? You have a similar cadence.
Well, I will say this. He speaks a lot like me. I was always talking like this. He got it. He learned it from me. And I'm not afraid to say that on camera.